This is Algebra 1, Part 1, Lesson 4.4, page 253, Problem 1, Graphing a Function Rule. Basically, that means graphing an equation. Just a fancy way of saying it. So if they're asking you to graph a function, if the easiest way is to do it with an XY chart, okay? And no matter how high you go in algebra, when you get to trig, when you get to algebra 2, when you're graphing really fancy equations, the old fallback, if you can't remember how to do it, is always the XY chart. So to make an XY chart, literally, here's your X values. Here's your equation that you're putting the X into, and that's the equation they gave you. So if I put a -1 in there, I get -2 times -1 is 2, positive 2, plus 1 is 3. So when X is -1, my Y value is 3. When X is 0, that becomes 0, so it's just 1. So 0, 1. This is my X value that I'm putting in, and the Y value is what I'm getting out. Input, output. And you can choose your points here. I like to choose some on either side of 0, so that you see what's happening with the negative side of the graph as well as the positive. And obviously you want to use 0 just because it's easier. So then you're going to just graph these points. So -1, 3 is right there. 0, 1, 1, -1, and 2, -3. And that, when you connect those, that should form your line. I know this is a linear function because it's x to the first power. We don't write it, but there's a first power right there. So x to the first power is always a linear equation. Okay, so the got it says, what is the graph of the function rule y equals 1/2 x minus 1? So here's I actually like to put these in the calculator just to show you that you can do it without. So I just used a couple of negatives, 0, and a couple of positive numbers, which gave me the points. If I put -4 in there, the reason I used even numbers is because I knew I was multiplying by 1/2. So I didn't get fractions that I had to graph. So if I put a -4 in there, half of -4 is -2, minus 1 would be -3. If I put a -2 in there, I get -1 minus 1 is -2, etc. If I put a 0 in there, this is 0, so I just get -1. And so here's my -4. I'm not sure what they're counting by here, but here's my -4, -3. Here's my -2, -1. Here's my 0, -1. Here's my 2, 0. And my 4, 1. Okay. The other way you can do it is using your y-intercept and slope. Your y-intercept is -1, and the slope says go up 1 over 2. And those 2 points will be on your line. So if you want to use the stat function, again, you just go into stat, edit, and the stat button's right here in the middle. So you go to stat edit and you put in your x values and you put in your y value. These are from the last problem, but you would literally just go in here and do whatever x values you want. What happened? Edit. Negative. What are you doing? -4. There we go. I don't know what it's doing. -2. Why is it doing that to me? Sorry. Stat edit. -4. Not sure why it was doing that. 0, 2, 4. And I'm going to go over here, and you can just type right over these, and it doesn't matter. So I get -3, -2. It doesn't like my negative. That's the problem. It doesn't like my subtraction is what it is. All right, so let's go back here. So -3 we've got. If I put -2 in, I get -2. If I put 0 in, I get -1, etc. And you would just put those in just to look at them and to get your points lined up. You can put this middle part of actually solving an equation in there or not. It's up to you. But this is a good habit to get into, is just being able to get your x's, plug them in and get your y's, and then put them on the graph. And that's how I got this picture, actually, was putting them in.